My name's Joshua Gannon. My name is Joshua.
Sorry, I won't go on.
It's the worst.
Yeah.
My name's Joshua Gannon and I play Mottle Stop.
Sorry.
My name's Josh Gannon and I play Mottle the Tailor. There we go.
I'm Andy Nyman and I play Tevye.
In a nutshell, tell us about your character.
So my character is the young tailor of the village who falls in love with Tevye's eldest daughter, Zeitel. And his kind of story is mostly based on their love and coming together and getting Tevye's permission for them to marry and start a life together, which is against tradition because she's kind of agreed upon to another old gentleman in the village. So he's quite a nervous, quite naive character. And
It's amazing you got cast as him.
I know, I'm just, it's really not like me. But yeah, his main thing is about standing up to this man over here and trying to sort of kind of win the love of Zeitel.
And same for you, who is your character in a nutshell?
In a nutshell, I play Tevye, who in a nutshell is a milkman who lives in Anatevka, which is a shtetl in Russia. He has 5 daughters, all of whom he wants to marry off, but the way the old school works was you had to marry your eldest daughter first and then the ones below that. So it's very important to him that they marry well and marry people who are responsible and can provide, and he is the first person who wants to marry my daughter. But of course that is against the backdrop of Tsarist Russia, where Jewish communities were being brutalised and kicked out of their homes and their lives destroyed, as were my great-grandparents, who fled at exactly this time and came to Leeds, landed in Hull, like many of the Jews, were told it was New York and got off. That's not a joke. I mean, it's funny, but it's not a joke.
That resonates on another level than just being an actor. How is it taking on this beast of a show then, with that history as well?
It's absolutely, taking this show on is amazing. Taking this role on is amazing, because you know that, you'd be a fool not to think it's a role that's iconic in the hands of someone else. Topol is rightly famous for it, and before him Zero Mostel. But so, you've got to find your own way of doing it, and your own, unfortunately for me, my own way of doing it is, literally just to think about my relatives and their journey, and then the truth of that, and how I would feel as a father if someone as impressive as Josh Gannon wanted to marry my oldest daughter, and how I would feel, and why I ultimately allow him to marry, because he's brilliant.
He knows I'm ticklish, so he always tickles me on stage.
Now everyone knows you're ticklish.
Now everyone knows.
Stage door's going to be a hoot.
Hashtag tickle Josh Gannon.
How is it taking on a show with such heavy content?
I guess for me this is one of my first sort of big parts in the show, and it's the first time I've experienced almost an actor's approach, so looking at the text and focusing on the text and focusing on the truth behind it all. I've been lucky enough to do all sorts of different types of shows, but this has been the first show that I've really felt I can get my teeth stuck into and really try and understand the world around me and what it means to audiences, or all audiences that can come and watch, and how I can sort of do that justice.
The show in 5 words.
The greatest musical ever written. There you go, that's not bad, is it? I didn't even know that was 5 words when I started. Yeah, my autism shut off for a second. No, I could tell you how many syllables.
That's perfect, yeah.
So I'm Nicola Brown, I'm Scottish and I play Hava.
You are. I'm Molly Osborne, I'm from Essex.
Yay.
And I play Zeitel.
Can you say where we're from?
No, we don't.
I just did. I'm Harriet Bunton and I play Hoddle.
Can you now tell me more about your character? Because obviously you are sisters in the show. How is that? Obviously you seem like you're friends off stage, which is great. Does that translate?
Shut up.
Does that translate on stage? How is it working as sisters?
Oh goodness, that's great. I love getting the opportunity to work with these girls. They're so talented and it's such a nice relationship that we have on the stage. My character Hava is the youngest of the 3 sisters. She's the one that goes the most off the rails. She goes off with someone who's not a Jew. But she's always sort of she shows from the very beginning that she's different throughout. She chooses to read to better herself. She doesn't, you know, she doesn't really. At the start, I suppose she's a bit naive because, you know, like Hoddle, you know, very interested in the matchmaker and stuff. And of course, she learns as she goes. But yeah, she very much is revolutionary, ahead of her time. I think it's very important to the character.
Zeitel is a very brave young woman. She's hopelessly in love, and is the first of the three to sort of force Dad to question his traditions and rethink his way of life with the new changing world. And she's lucky enough that she gets her way, I suppose. But yeah, she's the beginning of the journey, and just, you know, is trying her best to appease her dad, but still, and keep part of the family and part of the tradition, but sort of try and bend the rules and get the man that she wants, which she does. And she grows up quite a lot, so she sort of becomes like an adult during Act 2, and she has this big long sort of journey, and that's really lovely.
Hoddle's the middle sister, and very much like a middle child. She's kind of she's quite bold in the things that she says. She's got a good sense of humour. She's quite witty, and she starts off as kind of this daydreamer. She wants to marry the rabbi's son, and then she ends up meeting a man from out of town, and he changes the way she looks at the world, really, and it changes everything she thinks about her future, and she ends up leaving home, leaving her family to follow him. So I think they're all brave, aren't they? They all, they're all quite good, you know, role models. I think even, you know, today, I think all three of them kind of show how it's important to, you know, do what you want to do as a woman, follow your heart, follow your head.
Definitely.
The show, it's been on Broadway, it's been in the West End. Why do you think the show's almost stood that test of time and it keeps coming back in a different format, different production?
I guess because it's I think it's one of those stories which will always be relevant. There'll always be you know, a younger generation who challenge kind of the rules that have been set by the generations before them. They'll, you know, sadly there's always some form of prejudice going on, whether it's, you know, racism, anti-Semitism, you know, sadly it all is still very relevant, and I think that's the important thing about the show, is that it's timeless. The messages of, you know, family love, tradition, all that, it will always be relevant, and I think that's why Fiddler on the Roof will continue to be a success.
Yeah, it's about, like, the general theme is about a minority being segregated, isn't it? And like, as you say, that just,
unfortunately, it just doesn't go away.
No.
How is it working on a show with heavier content and material?
It's quite exhausting, actually.
It's exhausting.
It is, yeah.
I mean, this is actually the first show I've done which doesn't have some form of mega mix kind of audience up at the end clapping along. But it's strange. It's such a devastating ending, and yet there's something about seeing the audience reaction which is so uplifting, because you know that a message has been received. It's an important message. Yeah. So still we come off, don't we? And you know, we're a bit teary sometimes.
Yeah. It means a lot so personally to some people.
Yeah. That there's still a sense of it's not like depressing and draining, because
people relate to it.
And there's
like,
joy.
That's me too.
There's like that sort of running through of, like, you know, whilst there is the bigger picture, you know, you're watching a man who's so, like, stuck in his ways grow completely.
And
you know, you'd never have thought that from the start, and it's something that's really magical to watch.
Rethink and like sort of doubt, but it's, you know, in a good way, because he's so righteous and things. And all of the things like that.
Oh yeah.
Is it weird to want a Fiddler mega mix? Because I can't do that.
Do you know, I suggested it to Sir Trevor Nunn. He said he'd think about it, so it's in the blood.
5 words that describe the show are educational,
honest,
relevant,
family, tradition!
Hello, I'm the rabbi, and I'm playing the rabbi. Typecasting.
I'm more of an actress person. Obviously, we've got a real rabbi. My name is Louise Gold. I'm playing Yenta, the matchmaker, and it's wonderful to be working with a real rabbi.
And my name's Tanya Newton, and I play Miriam, usually a mama in the show. But this week I'm understudying Golda, played by Judy Kuhn, Broadway legend. But I'm on for her this week.
So why do you think the show is so important now?
Yeah, it remains relevant now, doesn't it?
Well, tragically, you know, that every day we open the papers, there's anti-Semitism, refugees, all the issues.
And not just Jews either. Lots of races
Yes,
all.
refugees all around the world. So unfortunately, it's very, very relevant at the moment. And the themes are about love, tradition, family. It's not just... they're universal themes, which is why any great piece of art continues, because it is universal.
Along with a whole slew of absolutely wonderful songs that everyone knows. Yeah. What can you go wrong, you know?
It's wonderful to have something so meaty, because it's very funny, very human, and to tell that story every night, it's very tiring emotionally. I find
it's totally draining. It's the most draining show I've ever done, and I've only got 10 lines, you know, but I'm still exhausted at the end of it because of what we have to go through.
Yeah.
I think you go through every emotion in this show. You know, there's joy, there's heartbreak, and the score as well is so beautifully written, as you said. And again, every emotion, you go from joy to heartbreak, you know, in several scenes.
Even the first day of rehearsal, I remember I was sitting with Louise and also Gaina. Is that her name?
Yes.
Yeah, Gaina. She plays Prima Sarah.
The rabbi.
And well, I was just sitting there watching Andy Nyman for the first time, you know, singing "If I Were a Rich Man," and I just tears coming down my face on "If I Were a Rich Man," and I turned to my left. She was in tears. She was in tears. It just affects you, doesn't it?
The lyrics and the music are very simple in the best possible way. They're so direct. There is no cleverness. It is absolutely pure and direct.
Yes. Yeah.
Can you describe the show in 5 words for me?
3 words: best in town.
Oh, that's good, isn't it?
I would say uplifting, heartbreaking, and joyous.
Very good.
Long. Well, it is by Trevor Nunn, you know. But it's good value for money if you compare it to some other shows. You're
You
paying
get million pound
£100 yeah, per minute. It's very good value. And it doesn't feel like how long is it? 4 hours? No, it's not. I'm joking. It's 3. Is it under 3 hours?
Nobody says...
In total, it's 3 hours, isn't it? With an interval.
With an interval. But it doesn't feel like it.
No.
It does to us, but...
Well, it does to us. We totally feel emotionally drained at the end of every show. You're going to lie down.
Yeah.
Hello, I'm Adam, and I play Herschel the baker.
Hi, I'm James, and I play Elijah.
I'm Ellie, and I play Nava.
How is it working on a show with heavier content and material?
Well, what helps is it's such a lovely group of people to work with. So you're dealing with very heavy material, but we all have sort of a shared sense of humour and fun to it. And also, I joined the company late, so these guys have been... When did you start? October?
Yeah, October.
And so it's been amazing. There's 5 newbies that joined, and we just jumped in at the deep end. And so it's been really sort of amazing just to fit into this amazing world.
Yeah, and I think you guys reacted really, really well, from what I found, that you sort of just jumped, like you said, into the deep end, both feet, and just got into the world really, really well.
I think that's sort of the secret to it, is just getting immersed in the world of Anatevka.
Exactly that.
Like it's
handy because we have a pre-show where it's just like improv every night. So that's where that's where it all happens, you know, that's where like your characters are formed, and that's where it all happens, and it's in that way it's very creatively stimulating, because even if you're just Herschel milling around the back, you have a whole life. Because we do it at the pre-show, we do it in the interval. So it's really creatively stimulating, and the piece is very...
Well, and the piece is so well written, obviously. So, I mean, it's so heavy, but it's so funny as well. Yeah. Which, you know, those two things together, it's like the dramatic mask, the happy and the tragic. When they go together, you just get the best of both extremes.
Yeah, and I think this piece is really important, especially today. I think there's anti-Semitism has crept back into Britain especially, but also with the Syrian refugees, anything to do with
American border.
Yeah, exactly. Anything to do with refugees and the plight of immigrants. So I think it really tests on that, and the relationship between immigrants and I suppose the nationals of the country. So in this instance it's the Russians versus the Jews, but in America it would be the Americans versus the Mexicans, or the Brits versus anyone in Europe really. But it is just it's a very, very important message that it's getting across, and I think the plight of the immigrant is a very, very important issue right now.
The turnaround from Chocolate Factory to here was quite a quick one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Were there any time to implement changes? Did they need to make any changes? How was that process?
Well, we had a week off. No, we started.
We sort of had 2 weeks of rehearsals whilst we were still performing at the Chocolate Factory, where we were going upstairs during the day, most sort of the early afternoon, morning, and adjusting the show to obviously how it is today, and then in the night we'd go back to what we were doing. So it was basically creating the process, then trying to forget it, doing the show, and then we had a week off, which was really quite nice. And then we also had the tech and sort of put those changes, implemented them into what the show is today, and it was difficult.
It was seamless as well.
It was seamless. It came out quite simply between the two.
Yeah, and it was quite unique to finish rehearsals and your director and your choreographer be like, now forget everything we did.
Trevor said
that
every time.
I think Trevor was worried you were going to face the wrong way constantly for the whole evening after that. Yeah. 5 words to describe this show are relevant.
Thank you.
Do I carry on?
No, yeah.
Real.
Yeah.
Living.
Intimate.
Electric.
Funny.
Yes. And
important.
Emotional.
Yeah. I think that it really shows the antithesis of what the show is when it goes from funny to serious in like the same scene.
Enigma.
Well, I'm Craig Pinder, and I play 2 characters in the show. Well, actually 3, isn't it, Dermot?
Is it 3?
3, yeah. Well, the ghost. Yeah, the ghost.
Oh, of course, yeah, you're the ghost.
The tight
symbolist. Yeah, ghost symbolist.
Okay, Avram, he's the bookseller. The ghost is the ghost. And the constable doesn't have a name. Oh, he's a villain.
Yeah, he is.
So there you go.
I'm Dermot Canavan, and I play Laser Wolf the Butcher, who gets frightened by the constable at the end because he's very fierce when he comes on.
Obviously it's been on Broadway, it's been in the West End. Why do you feel that the show, it just resonates with so many people and it's almost stood that test of time?
They came from great stories, real stories. Shalom Aleichem, who wrote these books of Tevier, the milkman, the dairyman, and etc. And the characters are full, real characters. And that's the essence of, I think, of why it's so successful, because it's character driven and it's story driven. Yeah. So you've got good ingredients right away to make a wonderful piece, and they've adapted it so well, both in terms of the book and the music, and so success.
Yeah. I think also the fact is the music hasn't aged. I mean, it's the same age as me. It's 54 years old this year. I'm 55 this year. But yeah, but the music hasn't aged at all. It's still from the first strings to the final note. It's just still accessible, still popular.
And
it's great. It's simple as well. It's simple melodies that just come to life. Yeah. And also the story itself. It's still going on in the world. You know, people are getting displaced, people are getting thrown out of their own homelands, and it's going on, and it's getting worse and worse. I'll get off my soapbox. So that still hits home with people as well.
It's rooted in the Jewish community, but it's also applicable to all sorts of oppressive regimes in society.
I think anybody who comes from an immigrant background as well. My father came from Ireland, and even it was semi-classed as the British Isles we came from, but he was never treated as being British. Every day of his life he was reminded that he was an immigrant, that kind of thing. And I think that is now hitting home. There's a lot more people, children of immigrants, who actually say, no, I think it's about time actually our stories got heard and we can stand up and with solidarity with these people and just say enough is enough to one extent, but also to say this is what's still going on. And I think it shocks a few people that come to see it because they think, oh, it's Fiddler,
it's old. It's got to be, the same old. But not this version. This is really hard hitting.
Yeah. Although a lot of people, really love the fact that they know about Fiddler. They've seen it in the past, or even done it. I mean, it's done a lot, and for a reason, it's a classic.
Can you describe the show though in 5 words?
Joyous,
rooted,
spirited,
humorous, in a true sense.
Honest,
tragic,